Hello and welcome to another exciting week of Political Party. I'm Hamish.
And I'm Tim.
Coming up in the show this week, conspiracies. Is this the real life? Are things really as they seem? These are some of the questions that we're going to be tackling because you better remember, jet fuel can't melt the steel podcast.
This is going to be a very funny week, and I'm just going to say from the get-go right now that I will be taking the piss out of a lot of these conspiracies, so please do not think that I am dismissing them, nor that I'm agreeing with them. I just think that this is a nice week where Hamish gets to let loose on all of his theories about the world and other people's theories that he has come across.
Coming up on the show, first off, we are looking at conspiracies that are actually grounded in reality, false flag operations, and that kind of thing. Then, we're going to take a look at some hypothetical conspiracies that may or may not be true, that may have enormous implications for the world if true. And thirdly, we are going to look at conspiracies as a means of propaganda. So while these conspiracies may not have a shred of evidence behind them, they're still spread to achieve a certain propaganda objective by intelligence agencies. Some of your favourite conspiracies will fall under this category.
Awesome. This is going to be a fun week, guys. Hamish?
So
tell us about false flags first. What is it?
A false flag. So, a false flag is one of the main kinds of conspiracies. The Twin Towers arguably fall under this category. A false flag is a form of, I reckon it's a form of black propaganda, which is basically where you're trying to make the message look like it came from somewhere else. Similarly, the whole point of a false flag is that one country disguises its operatives as members of another country in order to turn public opinion in their country against that other country, and provide them with a casus belli for war in general. An example would be shortly before World War II, the Germans had German soldiers in Polish uniforms attack German border posts so that they would be able to justify their invasion of Poland. So, that is one of the prime examples of false flag. Now let's take a look at some that were planned and some that have actually taken place. So we'll start off with Operation Northwood in the USA. This is one of the... Is it more well-known? I don't know. But it took place, or it was dreamed up in the 1960s amid the backdrop of the Cold War and the Cuban Communist Revolution. What was going to happen in Operation Northwood was that Cuban Americans would perform acts of terror across the USA, while similarly a US ship full of passengers would be blown up near Cuba. There would be attacks on plantations and things like that. Basically, it would look like the Cubans were actively trying to subvert America using, their commie ways, and they would actually attack, giving America a reason to invade Cuba and turning public opinion against Cuba. And, the Cubans would say, no, we didn't do it, it wasn't us. But they'd have no way of proving it because, America and the media and so on and so forth. The media are often in cahoots with government on these conspiracies because reporting the conspiracies without the whole conspiracy element and just as they appear will still make the newspaper a lot of money, which is their end goal, and it will also earn them political favour with the government, which is very helpful in influencing policy. So Operation Northwood was basically where a hypothetical Cuban invasion was justified by attacks on US soil. Now, this never actually happened, but I feel like it sets an interesting precedent and demonstrates just how far the US was prepared to go with attacks upon its own civilians to invade another state. Now, I'm not saying the Twin Towers was a false flag, but jet fuel, the temperature's a bit, doesn't really correlate, does it?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that event, like the third tower inexplicably collapsing on its own, and all of that stuff. I mean, there's plenty of reason why they would fake that incident. I don't necessarily believe the conspiracy theories, but I think it's important that the conspiracy theory exists.
Yeah, exactly.
Purely so state power can be challenged in a world where the citizens have almost next to no power of holding their governments to account. Particularly when the President of the United States is the sole commander-in-chief of the military and that invasions don't need congressional approval.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Conspiracies are a good way to encourage healthy debate on issues that would otherwise remain sensitive, although just how healthy the debate is really depends on the conspiracy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like you said, there's conspiracies that are grounded in reality. That's sort of what we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah.
And not only was Northwood going to be this conspiracy theory that has been built from the government, but a lot of government actions have arguably grounded in reality, have had conspiracy theories attributed to them by non-government people. So, like wackos on YouTube telling people that like the government is spreading chemtrails.
Yeah, exactly. But that is propaganda that we shall cover later on in the show.
Is it? Awesome.
It is. The whole point of conspiracy is grounded in reality, though. The reason why I decided to open with this segment is simple. It's to open your eyes to the scale of the conspiracies the government is already able to pull off that we are aware of. Now, I'm not saying that many of these other conspiracies are true, but I am saying that they could be, given what the government has already been able to achieve. Now, let's take a look at some other conspiracies. Let's have a look at Georgia and its disputed regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. So, a bus containing, I think it was some Georgian nationals, was driving across the border into one of these disputed regions when the bus was attacked by gunmen. Naturally, the Georgian government blamed South Ossetian separatists, because this was 2008, and the Georgian government was looking for a casus belli to kick Russia out of these disputed territories and retake what it saw as rightfully theirs. However, what happened was that a Georgian advocacy news group ended up finding that pro-Georgian government, or even Georgian government-owned radio stations had already set up their crews 100 meters before the border checkpoint, arguing that they argued the bus was attacked before it crossed the border by Georgian government forces, whose goal was to provide a legitimate reason for invading these break-off regions, because, oh my god, you killed my nationals, we'll kill you. That's that argument seems awfully familiar to people who follow any kind of Russian intervention anywhere. So this actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
The media falsified it.
They didn't falsify it.
They misinterpreted it.
Yes, misinterpreted is a good way of putting it.
In favor of Russian interventionism.
In favor of Georgian interventionism, as it turns out. This was before the war.
Wow.
And of course,
cool.
we all know what happened in that war, where it was decidedly one-sided, but the Russians still didn't perform nearly as well as they should have done, given the massive disparity in just general military capabilities overall. But that's a topic for another day.
So you're saying that this was a complete conspiracy theory and then it was actualized and found to be absolutely true?
I don't know if it was actually a conspiracy theory beforehand by that many people, but it was absolutely...
It was definitely a cover-up.
Yeah, something the government did that was hidden by,
right.
The news and so forth. It just shows you how easily the media can control our opinions.
Yep.
And how sometimes when countries make outrageous claims like Russia, there may actually be a shred of truth behind them. I mean, I firmly believe that if the West was not behind the Euromaidan uprisings, they absolutely had a hand in it, and they absolutely supported it, just as Russia is absolutely supporting the separatists.
Mm.
So, respect Ukraine's sovereignty, guys. Nah, screw that. This is international power politics. In international power politics, treaties are only there to show that the people theoretically care about what goes on, and it's kind of a gentleman's agreement. There's no way to actually uphold treaties on a country like Russia or the USA, who just does what they want, or treaties of this kind. But they still don't want to get caught busting the treaty because it gives them, moral arguments. So they're all like, oh, we didn't do anything. Next minute, intelligence agents everywhere and leaked phone call that was, yeah, Poroshenko's our man in Ukraine. So, yeah.
Fascinating
Quite the
stuff.
Conspiracies.
All right, we're going to go to a song, and this is a good
This
song.
song's all about...
Hamish, please tell us about this song.
So this song is all about subjective reality and deception and is this the real life? Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Woo!
Hello and welcome back to Political Party, putting the conspiracy in putting the con in conspiracy.
That's better.
There we go. Now, conspiracy's
Got that out eventually.
Conspiracy's a bit stupid. Now let me open this segment by asking you all a crazy question.
Conspiracy theories are getting more fun at this point.
What would happen if every business that produced a certain kind of product got together and said, we're going to make our product suck so that it breaks earlier and consumers will have to buy more of them? Every business, all of them, getting together and making this mutual agreement. How would they be able to uphold it? Surely one of them would see a profit in screwing over the terms of the agreement.
I'm going to pull you up right here, Hamish. I simply cannot believe that major technology and, fuel and infrastructure companies and stuff would go out there and deliberately collude on products when they're in competition with each other.
Yeah, why would
It just can't be factually true. I
It's a
reckon
free
that's...
market. It's the free market. Someone is
I
surely...
reckon it's complete bullshit that you're trying to give us right now, Hamish. This simply can't be fact. This
And
can't
yet-
be reality.
Yeah, nah, it is fact. Because back in the 50s,
No.
all the light bulb manufacturers got together and were all like, we're going to make our light bulbs only last a certain number of hours. That way they'll have to buy more. Well, that's how it ended up happening because, surprise, surprise, legislators haven't actually legislated against this kind of planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is still very much a relevant concern today. More so now than ever, with the advent of hardware and software and updates. And speaking of updates, let's take a look at smartphones.
Yeah. So the two sides of planned obsolescence when it comes to smartphones, like not particularly the phone I'm holding now, because Android just continually updates
It's mostly Apple, to be honest.
until your phone physically cannot handle the specs. But iPhones have had both conspiracy and actual instances of planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence being simply how to make a product obsolete. Firstly, in terms of physical, they say that iPhones are deliberately planned to break easily. Everyone understands this. Everyone who's got an iPhone's had a cracked screen before.
Yeah.
Like, not a cracked screen, sorry, a shattered screen, just simply by dropping a phone from 30 centimeters or higher. And, hardware that, renders your phone dead after a year or so.
Oh, it's software. But basically the idea is the software updates will become more and more demanding on the phone's hardware so that eventually the phone won't actually be able to run it. You'll need to get a new phone in order to have your phone run faster than, a snail with a broken foot.
But it's not just speed, though. It's actually proven that they're using planned obsolescence in updates because iOS, whatever it's up to now, only works for the last 2 years worth of phones. If you've got an iPhone 6 Plus, your iPhone 4 will no longer be able to update. Is that right?
I don't know if no longer able to update. It'll just be horrendously...
No, it physically does not let you update.
Oh, really?
Once your phone's older than 2 years, yeah.
Well, I'd believe that. It's like Microsoft Windows and how they just stopped updating some of the versions after a while because support was too expensive and the market share was too low. That's not the case with a 2-year-old smartphone. 2 years old, you'll be seeing a bit of aging in the lithium-ion battery, but it should still be good, surely.
The iPhone's,
What if you want to be a collector and keep a piece of history? The iPhone 1. You're screwed. That's what happens.
iPhones, warranty and insurance and all that stuff that secures the integrity of your device is only guaranteed for the length of your contract. So 2 years. So I've had an iPhone 4S, I think was my last iPhone, and that was only guaranteed for warranty within 2 years of the initial purchase of that unit. So,
and what happened the instant 2 years expired?
The instant 2 years expires, the phone was rooted, it didn't work, it was slow, and the screen was shattered. But if I did want to fix it, warranty would no longer be applicable.
Ooh.
So you'd have to go and pay $60 to sit down with an Apple genius and have them fix your phone with Apple people, with Apple prices, of which they have a monopoly, and they would make it far too expensive for you to repair, so you may as well just go out and buy the new one.
That's why.
Which is even weaker.
There's a window of opportunity for you to break your iPhone, but get a new one under warranty.
Yes.
You want to hit that window like my friend did. He got an iPhone 6 to replace his iPhone 4 odd. Or was it a 5 odd? I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Martin, please confirm in comments.
I am just going to say for discretion purposes right now that I absolutely hate Apple and everything that they stand for.
Yeah, no, I don't particularly like
They innovated
Apple.
some nice things, I guess, but
as someone who actually cares about PC hardware and price and value as opposed to, oh, look, shiny, I'm obliged to say that I despise Apple, but I understand that some of their software is pretty legit for stuff like editing on their computers, not their phones. Screw their phones. Their phones are the worst. Actually, the iOS market was pretty much the Wild West for some time. It was full of people rampantly copying software games, just copying them and putting them all over the iPhone store and passing them off as their own, and some very good pieces of software were neglected as a result. I mean, take a look at the game 2048. that was an iPhone clone of a game called Threes, which was much better than the iPhone, but... No, not better than the iPhone, better than 2048, but it just got completely passed on the hood. Anyway, the topic has changed somewhat from planned obsolescence to just corporates being bastards, which is fair enough. I guess they do have the name Corporat for a reason. So let's go back to looking at hypothetical conspiracies, shall we? If businesses are able to execute this kind of cover-up, why can't governments do the same thing? There are many instances where government officers have been completely stupid or messed up utterly, yet they haven't had anything happen to them. They haven't gone to jail. Like, let's take a look at the example of that one Iran air flight. During the Iran-Iraq war, there was a US destroyer chilling out, helping the Iraqis, but not helping the Iraqis, if you know what I'm saying. The Iraqis were the USA's friends during that war, which was a bit awkward when they completely flipped out on the Iraqis about 3 or 4 years after the war ended in the first Gulf War. But during this war, there was a destroyer just chilling out, and an Iranian aircraft was detected by the destroyer. The destroyer was all like, yeah, nah, it's an aircraft in Iranian airspace. Let's shoot a missile at it. He's clearly coming to attack us. Meanwhile, the aircraft was continuing to climb. And the missile went and blew up the aircraft. Good work, missile, except it turns out the aircraft was actually a civilian airliner full of civilians. It was a propaganda coup for the Iranian government. They were able to say, look, they shot down our aircraft, those heartless bastards. The Iran air flight is still brought up. In fact, I believe Iran's actually making a movie out of it. But the important thing is that nothing happened to the commanding officer of the destroyer. I think he may have lost his job as a commanding officer, but he certainly didn't get chucked in jail for the murder of an entire plane full of civilians. They were like, yeah, nah, look, you make mistakes, and that's all right. So you're just not fit to command the destroyer anymore, but you've still done a good job. Woo, America! That's what happened.
That's fascinating.
Just the fact that they don't get punished at all for these actions that would clearly be considered war crimes under any other circumstances.
Well, they're not signatories to the Rome Statute, are they?
No, they're not.
No, they're
if
not.
the Hague wants these prisoners, they can damn well come and get them.
All right. I want to kick off on another topic before we go to our next song. I want to talk about the real sexy conspiracies. Let's start with Area 51.
That's not even a conspiracy. That's not even a legitimate conspiracy. And I'll tell you why. Much of the stuff, so much of the stuff that goes on in Area 51 was actually explainable. Mysterious flying triangles, those were early stealth aircraft. Area 51 was basically a secret flight testing installation where they tested some really futuristic looking planes. They were futuristic looking, but that didn't mean they were aliens or alien inspired in any way. You know, people think the B-2 bomber has some kind of alien anti-gravity propulsion system, reverse engineered from aliens found at Roswell.
If they were able to do that, kudos to the military. I mean, they are funded more than any other institution on the planet.
Well, this is Lockheed Martin we're talking about. God only knows what kind of technology they've got up their sleeves, up their nickel and diming sleeves.
But just entertain me for a second. There is many personnel that have come out of this program who have spoken out and said that, yeah, there's aliens and there's this whole conspiracy about Hangar 18 where they keep the ship and stuff. Like, it's very funny. Like, I'm only saying this because I'm sorry, I've just had an idea for a song. It seems too, like, the conspiracy theories seem too strong. Like, if enough people believe it.
This is a counter conspiracy. We're using this conspiracy to hide what actually goes on. Conspiracies within
conspiracy.
Yo,
That's
dog.
the theme of the week.
Conspiracy.
So you're saying that there is far worse shit there than aliens, and so the conspiracy of aliens has been doctored.
Even worse.
To make you forget about what's actually happening there.
I don't even know if it's worse stuff. It's just we don't know what they're doing. It's a good way of misinformation. It's a good way of shutting up the left-wing critics who are like, aliens. Oh, what's going on? There's actually something secret going on in Area 51. A good way to shut them up is to say, look, guys, I'm not saying they're aliens, but Hangar 18 seems pretty sus, eh?
Yeah.
It's a good way to, like, completely confuse them. It's like how oil was used during the Iraq War, in my opinion anyway. Oil was the scapegoat that they used. The conspiracy was like, we didn't go to Iraq for democracy, we went for oil. But they were actually hiding a bunch of other reasons, such as the fact that Iraq was starting to sell their oil in euros rather than the US dollar, which would have strengthened the EU's position at the cost of the US. And it's interesting to note that France was against the Iraq War, probably for this very reason, among others, because Saddam was quite friendly with the French. He was going to let them drill their oil, and then next minute the US come in and like, yeah, nah, this is our oil now. Take that, you frogs. Surrender, cheese monkeys.
I don't even know if that's a conspiracy. I think we've just all accepted that as fact.
Well, I mean, look, if you watch mainstream news, it seems outrageous enough to be a conspiracy. But if you don't just exclusively rely on mainstream news, it's absolutely possible that you already knew this.
Mm.
So,
let's go to a song. This is a song about Hangar 18. This song is called Hangar 18. It's by a band called Megadeth, who's led by a guy called Dave Mustaine. And Dave Mustaine is obsessed with conspiracy theories. In fact, half of the songs from this band are about conspiracy theories. This is just an interesting one. We'll come back to in about 5 minutes. This is Hangar 18. In honor of Dave Mustaine's fantastic guitar playing, there are 4 more solos in that song, so we'll call that short so we can get on to our next segment, which is about conspiracy theories
as propaganda. So, during the Cold War, there were a lot of conspiracies put forward by either side about what they were really up to. Now, I don't actually know many of the American conspiracies that were sowed among the Russians, because it was the Russian ones sowed among the Americans that ended up getting the most air. For all their faults, the KGB were a very effective intelligence gathering service and a very effective propaganda service. They had this system that they called active measures, where their goal was basically to try and confuse and bewilder Americans. Sound familiar? That's exactly what the Kremlin's doing now. Vladimir Putin, former KGB agent. Full disclosure. But the whole point of active measures was to sow doubt among US civilians in the actions of their government, try to spread distrust, fear, make them question the government, attack perfectly legitimate policies and American achievements. Such as fluoride in the water. Fluoride in the water is completely fine. It's completely harmless. In fact, if anything, it's good for your teeth. But the KGB were all like, hey guys, it's actually really bad for you. It'll give you cancer. Your government's trying to kill you, man. Trying to make you into sheep. And naturally, the hippies who were around.
Americans.
Naturally, the hippies who were around at the time were like, oh yeah, man. Oh, the government's trying to get us, man. And then what ended up happening was exactly that. And now millions of people around the world believe that fluoride is bad for you. Good work, KGB. You guys have done a really good job. Yeah. In fact, the FSB still have many agents elsewhere that are trying to influence public opinion. But I'll get onto that after I finish discussing my other theory, which is there's a massive list of theories that are either known to be active measures or were in the Soviet archives as we deliberately tried to fool you, we succeeded, haha, suckers. So another one is the moon landing hoax. Now, this was examined in a Mitchell and Webb sketch where basically they were like, well, we could try and fake the moon landings, but we'd need to build a rocket that could go into space and fool all the telescopes.
But we're going to save money on not actually putting people on the moon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like catering and stuff?
Yeah. And
no, because you'd have to feed the film crew more than you'd have to feed the astronauts. So are we saving money? No, it's actually more expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So we may as well just go to the moon.
Oh, but what if there are aliens there? Anyway, yeah, it is a great sketch. It basically just showed that the whole moon landing conspiracy was completely impractical because in order to fool everyone, including the giant sodding radio telescope here in Australia, you would have had to spend a hell of a lot of money and actually, put mannequins on the moon, if nothing else. So really that conspiracy was active measures again by the KGB. And again, all you truthers, bear in mind you've actually been manipulated by the system. The system will win every time. Take that, the KGB. And speaking of the KGB, the Russians actually have a bunch of foreign policy objectives that they're achieving now. One of the goals was to foment dissent in America, try to separate society through ethnic tensions. And you know what? Stuff like the Boston bombings, like those race riots, I reckon they were either funded, incited, or supported by FSB agents.
On any other week, I would have told you off, but it's conspiracy week, so that's totally plausible.
Here's the thing. Pretty much every peace movement during the Cold War in the West was funded by the Soviet Union, especially all the anti-Vietnam War protests. It just goes to show the Soviet Union wasn't necessarily evil. It had this noble goal of peace in mind, but only when it was peace from American soldiers. So that was definitely a good use of conspiracies as propaganda there. And in fact, everyone likes peace, and the Russians were all like, yeah, we can help you with peace. And yeah, Now, what do you? I believe you have a piece for us, Tim.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in conspiracy theories, but here's one that I have sort of bought into over the years. There's this research facility in Alaska funded by the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and military service.
DARPA.
It's called the HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP. And what it does is it studies how plasma, the fourth state of matter, interacts ionically in the ionosphere. And that's all well and good. It's like just a happy research facility. It's just a lot of antennas on a square space out in Alaska. But it has been criticized by the European Parliament, Russian military experts, and Russian economists, particularly this guy, Michel Chushudjovsky, who has said that recent scientific evidence suggests that the HAARP, when fully operational, has the ability to trigger floods, droughts, hurricanes, and earthquakes in Iran, Pakistan, Haiti, Turkey, Greece, and the Philippines.
Why are you hating?
And
Why are you
these
hating?
are all
Get
things
it?
that have happened before. Now, these are also countries that have had a lot of tension with the United States, particularly Iran and Pakistan. And when you think about it, it's really good for the economically for these how do you call it, like these crises to happen, because it's profitable for the US.
Yeah, send in your repair teams, except for one thing. These countries also happen to be built in very geographically unstable zones, near
Yeah.
stuff like fault lines and so forth. And some of the capabilities ascribed to this system are not only outside like what it could realistically achieve with that hardware, but outside the probabilities of science. It is scientifically impossible for this stuff to happen. How the hell are those antennas going to cause earthquakes on the other side of the world? If anything, that facility is completely innocent and harmless. It's a technology that's been derived from the facility's findings that would be able to do anything. But again, I don't know what you could do. You're just examining plasma. If anything, it would have applications in aeronautics only.
Well, that's the thing. It has a huge amount of electromagnetic charge. And Russian military journals, particularly this one I'm reading right here, says that ionospheric testing could trigger a cascade of electrons that could flip the Earth's magnetic poles.
Now, let's just read this again. These are Russian scientists who are claiming this. And the Russian scientists, again, KGB active measures, they are actively trying to discredit the West's claims about everything, even if simply for the sole purpose of spreading doubt. It's why you see all these
But
news
what other
reports.
states have the balls to man up against the US?
Russia.
Exactly.
But that doesn't...
No other country is willing to talk out against them. Well, except the EU Parliament.
The EU is pretty big, to be fair. It's only the largest economy by GDP in the world. They've got very advanced technology, probably as advanced as the USA.
Yeah.
They had hearings on this, like, yeah, it may do environmental stuff. No worries.
A lot of, like, one EU affiliated physicist, Bernard Eastland, said that the technology from the HAARP has the capability to modify weather and neutralize satellites.
I reckon it could probably... Well, technology derived from it could probably do that stuff, but the actual facility, yeah, nah.
The EU had a whole inquiry about this in cooperation with the Alaska state legislature, and they sort of only came to the conclusion that the only definitive thing that they could condemn about this facility was environmental concerns,
Thing is,
particularly about radiation.
the US already experimented with weather control, and they found it was a terrible idea because it completely screwed up the weather.
Mm.
Like, it didn't do what they wanted.
Is Melbourne the ones who are suffering the consequences from that?
That's the real question. Are we the guinea pigs? Well, you know, the Woomera testing range really isn't too far away, is it?
What's that?
The Woomera testing range is where we test all of our secret and really powerful stuff. You know, combat drones, missiles, more missiles, space rockets, that kind of stuff is all tested here at Woomera. It was originally the British who used it a lot, but we lend it out to the Americans too.
Mm.
We've also had some nuclear weapons blown up in the desert. I don't know where, but I know it's happened. I'm sure you could find them if you flew a plane around the desert for long enough. Because, you know. Anyway, what is happening now, Tim?
We've got a song. This is Cornucopia by Serj Tankian, who you may know as the singer of System of a Down. His solo project, particularly on the album Harakiri, was sort of just fuck every single capitalist leader in the world. because you're all colluding to monopolize the finite resources that we have and condemning us to death.
Well,
A lot of it is conspiracy. This song is about how not only are governments monopolizing the use of natural resources, but they're monopolizing the narrative around it as well. And he's saying that there is in fact less out there than what we're actually led to believe. This is
I don't even think
Cornucopia.
it's governments. It could have just been the media who are trying to, inflate stocks in their businesses or whatever. But fun fact about the System of a Down, there is a song of theirs that has been remixed to the theme of Thomas the Tank Engine. Find it on r/Thomas the Dank Engine. And we're back talking about more conspiracies. So what we're going to be talking about now, I reckon, is just how big conspiracies get. How much of the world is ruled by these theories that are actually true, but we are led to believe are not true. I reckon a good place to start would be, let's have a look at the media. The more centralized and monopolized the media is, the easier it is for one person or one entity to decide what humanity thinks. All of humanity. And it just so happens we live in such a world. Rupert Murdoch and company control the vast majority of Western media, and you'll notice the only ones who don't really agree with Western media are those who have their own agendas to push forward on their civilians, like Iran, China, Russia. They're all countries that gain from looking like they oppose America, but really it's probably all a conspiracy, isn't it? Conspiracy, not even an intentional one, but it's a way for, not only do News Corp and stuff end up with their massive monopoly, but China and Russia and stuff look like they're pushing against. They both have the audience. China and Russia go for like the Western conspiracy nuts who are like, oh man, the government's out to get us, man. You know, the same ones who are affected by the KGB, as we mentioned in earlier discussions, while at the same time, Western news media is for the counterculture in Russia and China, and especially stuff like Radio Free Liberty, which was used in Europe as the American instrument of propaganda.
But let's be real here. The corporations don't control the media. The Illuminati controls the corporations.
That's true. And
There's a
the
new
Illuminati...
world order. It exists. The world is unified under a group of elites, and those elites control the corporations, who control the media, who control the population, who then control the politicians, sort of.
Did we mention they're all Jewish?
Are
Jews
they?
control everything?
Oh, I did not know that.
I thought that was common knowledge.
I did not know at all. I thought the Illuminati was like George Bush, and they recruited through the Skull and Bones Society and stuff.
George Bush is just a puppet of the real masters. The masters through history, who have totally been our masters through history and not had the hell oppressed out of them everywhere. Totally, guys. It's legit. The Jews, it's all them. At least you'll believe that if you read the Al Jazeera comments. The Al Jazeera comments are, ugh. You will not find a worse hive of scum and villainy, except in the RT comment section, which is even worse, if that's at all possible. Fun fact about the Illuminati, they are based off the Bavarian Illuminati, and once when I went to Europe, there was actually a church with the triangle eye in it as a decoration. It was quite funny.
That's hilarious.
You sound really amused.
I'm incredibly amused, yes.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of historical happenings that you can just willy-nilly attribute to the Illuminati. Like
exactly.
The French Revolution. The Illuminati wanted to give people the impression of liberty.
Ooh.
So they could oppress. And then they wanted to assassinate JFK because he was trying to stop communism. But communism was good for democracy.
Because communism is also a Jewish conspiracy, just in case we didn't make that clear.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that either.
Yeah, no, didn't you know? Communism was a Jewish conspiracy by the Jews to try and enslave the world. Hitler saw the truth, and Hitler died. Coincidence? I think not.
Legal asterisk. We're not actually saying that Jewish people were at all involved in this, and this is not meant to be an anti-Semitic.
No, in fact, we are mocking.
We're merely reading what conspiracy theorists about the New World Order are saying.
I mean, all seriousness, how the bloody hell is this stuff true? Jewish people have been oppressed throughout most of history. They haven't even had the chance to do anything near the legends that are ascribed to them. They only became so successful in the USA because their culture was like hard work, make money, and they had very good networking with each other. So that was what allowed them to get into monopoly, not some massive conspiracy. They don't even have a monopoly. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. All the Jewish people I've met have been completely lovely. So, yeah, that's our legal asterisks over, I think.
Yeah, I think we can move on. What are the big conspiracy theories that are most pressing to us as people? Like mass surveillance, for example, has come under conspiracy theories a lot.
Proven to be not a conspiracy, but the truth.
Yes.
They know everything. They're probably listening to us now. What's up, surveillance guys?
Yeah, we'd like to take this opportunity to say hello.
I, for one, welcome our benevolent surveillance overlords.
Yeah, we've got our highest listenership this year because the NSA and the TSA.
Guys, we'll spread propaganda for you. Send us money now.
Yeah, everyone's listening. Everyone in the US government is listening to us now because
all 20 of our YouTube views are from US government officials.
Good luck finding our encoded messages that we've sent out through this broadcast.
The Illuminati are real and trying to enslave you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Maybe.
Was there a bit of microphone static, Tim? Did you hear that?
I did hear that. It was
It was just static. There was no message in there.
Yeah, it was just a bit of feedback.
Yeah, just a bit of feedback.
Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, exactly. Feedback is a fact of radio life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving swiftly onward from that topic of what was totally not a subliminal message.
Hey, you! Join the Navy!
No, but seriously, send us money, guys. When I get home, I'm going to check our Google Analytics and see just where the majority of our listeners come from.
Maybe we'll have none because people don't want this message getting out.
That's the plot twist, guys. That's a plot twist. They want to keep us secret. They want to hide the truth.
All right.
They're out to control your mind, man. Not like that one CIA project where they actually did try to control people's minds. They literally plucked people off the street for it. They're like, yeah, no, this dude looks like he'll do. We'll just take him and experiment with his brain and so forth. Anyway, is that all for this segment, do you reckon?
Yeah, we're gonna go to our final song and then come back with some riveting revelations from the world of parodies. This is a song about rebelling against the system, aptly titled "We're Not Gonna Take It." This is Twisted Sister.
On the topic of half-wits, which we were talking about during the break, we are back.
Yes, we're back on Political Party talking about conspiracies this week.
Yeah, so Tim, I was reading on the topic of conspiracies.
Not really talking about conspiracies, revealing the truth.
On the topic of conspiracies, I was reading a really interesting news article this week from a legitimate news source. I know it's legitimate because it wasn't owned by News Corp. News Corp can't be trusted. Anything that isn't News Corp is definitely trying to expose the truth as it actually happened.
But is every non-News Corp medium really the message that they want you to get? Like, isn't News Corp just repelling you away from the news so you can go towards the rest of the stuff and think that it's factually correct?
Ooh, plot twist. Either way,
twist.
This article seems pretty legitimate. 9/11 conspiracy theories ridiculous. Al-Qaeda claims the US government was behind the attacks on September the 11th are demeaning to Al-Qaeda.
Yeah,
I mean, the attack was really a big way for Al-Qaeda to gain publicity and face. So, I don't know, maybe the proposal that the US government was behind this is rather insulting to the world's favorite terrorist organization.
Yeah, well, I mean, the now semi-defunct Al-Qaeda certainly were at the peak of their prime, in 2001 when
they were the bomb.
When they carried out this act. And, people just want to blame the US government for everything, but when it comes down to it, these guys,
the attack was
made
really
it happen. And
really
whether we
plain
like it
sailing. Because they flew planes into the Twin Towers. Plain sailing.
Mm.
I wonder, did they have wing? Nah, that was just not going to be funny. Anyway, please do go on.
It's yeah, we've got the statement here, but we don't need to read it because we know that Al-Qaeda are the ones who are behind that. The conspiracy theories are just a big joke to stop Al-Qaeda from getting legitimacy.
Exactly. CIA propaganda, CIA black propaganda unleashed among US civilians to make it look like, oh man, it's alternative, it's the truth. Nah, it's CIA guys. They're in your minds. But seriously, though, if I read stuff on the internet, I'm more likely to trust it than if I hear it on the news. That's not only a reflection of how bad the news is at their job of spreading propaganda without making it look like propaganda, but it's a really good way for CIA agents just to pop on the internet and be like, guys, this is actually the truth. Trust me, I'm a doctor, can confirm.
Jeez, Hamish, you might want to take your tinfoil hat off soon.
I don't know, that tinfoil hat keeps me safe from government rays. But in my mind, doing stuff, giving me these ideas.
That's our show for this week. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for having your minds freed this morning.
Yeah, and thanks for all the fish. So long and thanks for all the fish? Never mind, it's a book. Some of you listeners will definitely get that reference. But not Tim, apparently.
No, that made no sense. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. This is Political Party.
Political Party. Putting the cool in political. See you next time. Like us on Facebook.